Oh,
Whoa.
No.
Hey.
we did it.
Did we do it? Have we
And
done
now, from the corner of Texas and Main Street in Crowley, Texas,
it? There it is.
Central Standard Time, 9:32.
Ish.
Yeah, roughly.
Central Standard Time, it's 9:32 in Crowley, Texas. We are here with
Were you just
episode
checking?
031. I was just checking the time, yeah.
I thought you were checking to see if we were still in Central Standard or not.
We
Checking to
moved-
see if it was winter or fall.
Oh, it's full.
No, it's
Fall here?
It's full.
It's gonna be summer again tomorrow.
Let me summer tomorrow.
I saw a lot of people steal the same joke yesterday of fall just acted like it got clocked by a state trooper, went from 90 to 60. It was funny the first time, but I saw several people post it like it was their joke. I was like,
man.
come on, man.
I'm
Like,
going to post that real quick.
yeah.
Like,
Copyright Stephen Brown.
just
Well, we are here.
registered.
I promise you this will be the funniest show that we've done thus far. We have some great hosts, in here, Stephen and James Brown.
That's it.
Stephen Brown. Good morning, Stephen.
Buenos dias.
So I did.
New to your hearts,
Sir.
but not new to the area.
That's right.
Definitely not new to your atmosphere, Mr. James Irwin.
Hey, there he is.
What up, what up?
James is right there in the
Off
corner of the
camera.
love and almost off camera, but I tell you what, if you're on Facebook Live, we're going to fix that quicker than you have ever seen.
Boy,
That's
I
pretty
look,
quick.
I look washed out. We
Hey.
have like more lights on.
Why don't you kill that light right there next
Yeah,
to
your
you?
washout light is on.
Just hit that power strip.
And I tell you what, the guest today that I'm excited about is Miss Lori Vann. Lori, how you doing?
Hey.
Woo!
Hi.
And we have another guest
Who?
across the table from you. I'm afraid if I
James.
introduce him, he's going to drop a joke. So
It's going to be James.
it could be James.
It's
It could be
LeBron,
LeBron
James.
LeBron James.
Great guest. Great guest, James. You are incorrect. It is Mr. from the NBA, so you are warm. From the Harlem Globetrotters, so you are hot. From the stage of comical, you are getting ready to laugh. Mr. Melvin Adams.
Hey, what's up?
Hey.
Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, is that what you say when you're nervous? Well,
I know. They were nervous.
they were nervous.
Yeah.
That was just a nervous reaction. I called his name, and he said,
Dallas Cowboys.
that was tight.
Mr. Dallas Cowboys.
Good to see you this morning, Melvin.
Hey, good to be here.
Glad to have you this morning, Lord. James, let's have a great show.
Hey,
Good to
let's
see you
do
this
it.
morning.
I'm tired of having bad shows.
Me too.
Wonder Twins.
We've had 30 good shows.
Wonder Twins activate.
And this is
Form
where the
of?
great shows start. So we said, when we set out to do this podcast back in February,
Yep.
we said that we were going to start having great shows at episode 31. You know what today is?
No.
Episode 31.
Stephen Brown.
Holy smokes.
Absolutely.
It's
And
incredible.
if you watch our show, or if you are a fan of the Local Legend show, or maybe you've never seen a show before, and this is your first time, here's what we do. We start by giving shout-outs to the people watching live.
Right.
So if you're watching live, drop an L in the comments below. And if you don't want to drop an L in the comments below, but you are watching live, drop an emoji down there. Maybe your favorite emoji. Like if I said, Melvin, what's your favorite emoji right now? Melvin would then say,
A
Yeah.
smiley face.
yeah, drop
Hey,
that
the
smiley
classic.
face.
On the side.
Yeah,
helping you,
absolutely.
counseling you.
And so after the shouts out, we're then going to get into introducing who we have here on the show. And guys, you're not going to want to miss this. This show is going to be action-packed. It's going to be extremely informative. And we have an author here that's going to talk about a serious subject to a lot of our hearts. And that's, what is that subject, Lori?
It is non-suicidal self-injury and suicide.
Absolutely. So we're going to get into some of that here in just a little bit. But before we do, let's go ahead and give our shouts out to those people watching live. Let's see who's on the show today. Watching live, Mr. Randy.
Irwin?
Yes.
Hey, it's Randy.
We're going to
Hey,
have to
buddy.
start the show all over again because Aaron Allen is not here yet.
Oh, man.
But he will be here soon.
Come on, dog.
Typical Aaron Allen.
Also watching live, Mrs. Kylan.
Salazar?
Yes. Lazar.
Salazar.
Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift.
And watching live, dropping L's in the comments below, Mrs. Taylor Swift.
Wait. Breaking news. This just in, Taylor Swift is no longer watching, so we just
wow.
That was
we just
quick.
wasted
We lost
a
her.
shout out. Shoot.
Darn
That
it.
was an accidentally clicked it then, probably.
Yeah, she accidentally clicked on the Local Legend show there on Spotify, and she was in and out. All right, Taylor, good to have you. But even better, Mr. Melvin Adams. Melvin, if somebody's watching this morning and they say, man, I have no clue who's the guest today, but I love their show, I continually am surprised by the people they have on. Who is Melvin Adams?
Hey, Melvin Adams is a guy who just wants to inspire people, change lives, make you laugh. If you hold it in, you're gonna fart. So let's
That's
let's
it.
do this.
That's the piece.
Yeah.
That's
So
it.
that's
how
what
we
that
roll.
was.
That's it.
That's how we do
All
it.
right.
That's why I don't hold anything in.
I know. Gotta let it out. Yeah.
Man, so if you hold it in, you're going to do what?
You will fart.
That's true.
We
Like
got too many people
like at
holding
yoga?
it in.
Yeah. Too
That's why
many
we
people
need
holding it.
Lori. She
Yeah,
helps you
You-
let it out.
That's it.
I wondered what that pressure
So-
was. So, Melvin, where do you live?
I live in Houston, Texas. So flat you can see your dog run away for 2 weeks.
Oh, my
We have a
God.
problem.
Thank you for coming up.
It's good to be here.
How was your flight this morning?
I actually drove.
Yeah.
You said something today. I was driving into Crowley, and they got a new video. So they took a video of my car, driver's plate, how fast I was going, how much I owed. So I wrote a check, took a picture of it, sent it to him, and then Crowley sent me pictures of prison bars. So I got to go take care of that. So watch
my
out
God.
on
They
35.
don't
They're
mess
there.
around
Watch
in Crowley.
out.
That's
35.
Crowley
Wow.
PD. We love our PD, but man,
You know what I got to say to that?
they're hardcore.
Probably not your first time. Oh, got it.
Got
All
it.
right, we're going to get in some laughs today. Melvin, thank you for that. All right, Miss Lori Vann. Lori, for those people watching today, who is Lori Vann?
I am a international speaker, author, media guest, counselor first and foremost, and coach.
Fantastic. And I saw recently, this was funny. I was reaching out to people who we were excited to have on the show because she doesn't know this, but we're actually a fan of yours. We found you through the Dr. Phil interview you did in November. And so James and Stephen and I were sitting with Kyla, and we were like, let's just send her an email and see if by chance we can get through to her. It wasn't an hour later we got a response back from you saying you're willing to come in. So this is a really big deal for us today because we're a fan of you. And she's written 5 books. Wow. She's brought a couple of them here today. Which 2 did you bring today?
I brought the first book that I wrote, A Caregiver's Guide to Self-Injury, and then a more recent one that I co-authored with a school board member called Cause of Death, Political Correctness. It's actually not a political book. It's more about all these unintended consequences of PC.
Love it. Of political correctness.
So you're probably a pretty big free speech advocate then.
It
Free
varies.
speech?
There are some things, yes, some things, no, probably should be monitored.
I love that.
Okay.
Well, we're going to be monitoring Melvin Adams for most of the show today.
Oh,
We sat you across from her because you need to be monitored, Melvin.
That's it.
All good?
she's good.
Okay,
Love
she's
it.
good. So this is really cool, too, because I grew up with Stephen as my cousin, and he still is. So it's kind of a very important
that
thing.
dynamic hasn't changed. We're still cousins.
It's amazing how that's worked out. We're now going on 35, 36 years that we've been in this cousin to
And
cousin.
now, are you still older than Jonathan too?
yes,
Or?
I'm still older than Jonathan.
But I'm
Good
taller.
job, man.
He's taller and more married and has more kids.
Yeah, but he's
Okay.
more older
I'm more older.
by
Yeah.
months.
Yes, by several months.
Now, Melvin's younger.
Stephen
Our
looks
younger
awesome.
cousin, Melvin, is here today. Melvin, we're also huge fans of you because Stephen and I, we were introduced to the Harlem Globetrotters when we were younger.
Oh goodness.
And the way that you spin that ball on Yofanga, you got to teach us that move.
You know what's funny, man? I was 10, and my neighbor drove taxis. He drives Meadowlark. And so Meadowlark gives him tickets. I like football, being from Texas. I didn't even want to go, and my mom made me go.
Meadowlark Lemon, you mean?
Meadowlark Lemon.
Okay,
so
yes.
my neighbor drove taxis,
Wow.
and so he gives them tickets to go to the game, and I see these guys can do anything with a ball but eat it.
I'm sure they
sauce on
could.
it.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah,
Yeah, right,
let's
right.
not,
So
not
Colonel
limit
Neal,
him.
Colonel
No
Neal comes
lemon
over, lets
sauce.
me shake his hand, let me rub his head. It impacted me so much, I cut my own hair, became the new curly. So they were the originals. We were the extra crispy version. So athletes need to know the power that they have in inspiring the kids.
You
So
bet.
watch everything you do. So
You bet.
My goodness. So if you're an athlete watching this morning, take it seriously.
Take it
You might have an extra crispy version of yourself coming soon to the court, right?
yeah, and if you're down, Lori's here. She can help
That's
you
it. That's it.
That's right.
She'll live
I'll
here.
inspire.
So you guys were kind of sharing your story before we went on the air, and I told you to hold all of that on.
Yeah.
And I thought there was a common theme that went kind of between the two of you. So maybe kind of share your story, where you started, what your childhood was like, kind of where. I can't give us your whole story, but kind of abbreviated, start to finish, kind of where you are now.
We need a
well-
social security number and bank account number
I know,
in
man.
this story. So
Blood type.
we were here, and Lori was here, and I found out what Lori did, and we kind of came together because for me as a kid growing up, my dad, was probably the best hide and go seek player I've ever played. I mean, I'm still trying to find him now. He's that good. I remember my principal used to say, "We're going to call your dad." I said, "You found him?" So, but anyway, my mom, like I grew up, didn't kind of hear a lot of affirmation, so I hated authority, very suicidal, going to school every day, didn't really have a purpose, didn't want to be here, and there was people like Lori, like you guys, that just began to tell me I was awesome, told me I was amazing, things that I didn't hear, and I began to believe it, and it began to change my life. Ended up being the first guy to graduate from college, and just having people or whatever you're doing in life take time to make someone smile, because you never know what people are going through, because we spend money we don't have to please people we don't like. Everybody's hiding behind these masks.
Say that again.
Real. Spend money we don't have to please people we don't like. So if you could just take time. And it has to be deep. You could just say your hair smells like Pantene, or you went from abs of steel to abs of meals, but work that out. It could be anything that can inspire and motivate. And just know, if you're listening today, you're awesome and you matter. And you being here today makes today a better place because you're here.
Wow, that's huge.
Definitely.
Wow.
And so you grew up in Houston, or where'd you grow up? Are you
I grew up in Houston, Texas. Yes. I grew
single
up there.
child?
No, I have 4 brothers. I'm the cutest. There's 3. 1, 6, 8, 6, 7, 6, 2, and I'm the black Smurf. So I'm the 5'3", sleeping in my mom's purse.
Yeah, I
It's
was gonna say, what
lonely.
happened to you, dog? You're not 6'8".
You gotta believe, baby. You gotta believe.
So you must have been one of 4 professional basketball players, right?
No, the other 3 were just kind of doing their own thing. They were living thugalicious.
Okay.
Hurt people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they still held on to my father's stuff. They never forgave. And so when you don't forgive, you just repeat it.
Oh, wow.
But I found some great men came into my life and began to just love on me. And my kids, I mean, even my kids are even talk different. They were like, Father, were you poor? Were you a Negro, Father? Did you eat the government cheese? Were you It's amazing how just
Government
saying words.
cheese,
Government cheese, yeah.
In the brown box.
Like, come up for tea. So, but it's just amazing how people, like what y'all are doing, is just inspiring and motivating people that may be just driving or hanging out and not really feeling loved, feel like they matter. So I know today you're going to be motivating and be inspired, because Lori is going to just shock your world. And these guys are amazing. So you need to check the show out. Every time it comes on, don't miss out on it, because they're awesome.
Thank you.
And they smell like honey buns.
Pantene Pro
That's
V.
me. I smell like honey buns.
Yeah, that's Steve. He rolls around in
I
them every
just-
morning.
That's how I have such soft skin. I
Incredible.
use the honey bun icing on it.
How many kids do you have? Do you have any children?
I have 2. I have 2 boys. Me and my wife been married 19 years, 9 months.
You want to give her a
10
shout
months.
out right there?
I love you, Sonia.
Yes,
And
sir.
my wife is fat, PHAT, pretty hot and,
And
tempting.
tempting.
Hey now.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been married, 19 years. I got 2 boys. My oldest is a junior. My baby boy is in 8th grade. So they're doing like really good.
Oh, that's awesome. They play sports?
Yeah, both of them do. My oldest is 6'1". My baby boy is 6'2". That's just
Whoa.
crazy. Yeah. They
What do they
pick me
play?
up. They play basketball. They're really good, man.
Really?
They work hard. Though.
They can
That's the-
hoop?
That's the thing.
They can hoop. Yeah. They can really hoop. Yeah.
Is that what Muhammad said last week?
Yeah. Muhammad was teaching us that we had a great basketball player on here. Junior League Coach of the Year was on here last week. And
Muhammad Shabazz.
Muhammad Shabazz,
Shout out to Muhammad. He may be
Muhammad.
watching.
He could be tuning in right now. He taught us the word. If you're a really cool basketball player, you say, I can hoop. So we've been saying that all week.
He can do it. And Jonathan's an awesome guy, guys. I'll tell you, I came here early, and I was in a meeting, and Jonathan was talking. He is really amazing. If you could hear this guy, he is amazing.
Man, thank you for
Awesome.
filling my bucket. You're awesome
Yeah,
this
no
morning.
doubt.
I think it's funny because we found you through your videos online right here. Tell us what's going on in this video. This is one of my favorite ones. You're at the Village Church there. What do you do when you go to a church?
So when I go to a church, man, I really like just try to get I think the church is sometimes we're just so spiritually goofy. I think young people today, we have an 8-track church and an iPod society.
Ooh.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so they
doubt.
don't want to hear people say that they're perfect. Kids need to hear people been through what I've been through.
Yeah.
And we just got to be more real. I think we try to please people, and then we're just living lies.
We put on
So-
that Sunday mask, man. That's
Exactly.
what it is.
And you got to make Jesus cool. Like I tell people, like we're just too serious, too spiritually goofy, and if we could just loosen up and have God be real.
That's a good word.
You know what I mean? Because the kids are going through their moms that, were just struggling with sex, but
Yeah.
then they get saved and they forget that they did that.
Yeah.
And then they never tell their kids and wonder why their kids are doing worse than what they did because they're just not being real.
Just don't
Right,
talk about
right.
So
it.
yeah, you got to be real. And so I just talk about real issues, but I make it funny, and hopefully we could just stop being so spiritually goofy and not so much talk about it, live it, because
Oh.
people are watching. You
Yeah.
can talk all day. I see so many people talking, but they don't live it.
That's what I always say. Don't just talk about it, be about it.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's good.
They pray for food, don't give a tip. I mean, they don't.
Pray for
Men know the Bible backwards and forwards, don't even notice their wives got their hair done. See that kind of stuff. Where it's crazy.
Oh my gosh. What do you have a moment where maybe you locked up on stage? I mean, I know that's every comic's fear is like locking up, no content flowing, and nothing in the mind.
No, man, this brain is just full of it's full of stuff. Like
That's always
my
fun.
tongue is the pen of a skillful writer, man. So
Oh.
I can find things in everything that I see. I'm looking around. There's stories all around.
Yeah.
And we make life so hard when life is so simple. And that's why I tell people like this. I date my wife twice a week. Like you don't have you don't have to be. You have to spend a lot of money. You can get ice cream cone, sit in the car and talk for an hour. But we
Man.
like work. You know, money can buy a nice dog, but love will make it wag its tail.
There you go.
Oh,
I'm dropping
wow.
Solomon in here.
Okay. Oh my
Man,
God.
that's it.
Boom.
Love can buy a nice dog.
But money can
Money can buy a nice dog, but love will
can
make it wag its tail.
Yeah.
Man.
That is a mic drop moment from the Local Legend Show today. All right, let's get back to the comments because we got some good people watching this morning. Tim Adams says, Lori, how do I get one of your books? So how do they get one of your books?
You can go to either my website through LoriVannCounseling.com, go through Amazon. It's a lot of the books are right there, Amazon.com, Caregiver's Guide to Self-Injury, or the Political Correctness book is also there.
I want to know this morning, so if you got into this, I know you're passionate about it. There had to be a time in your life where this impacted you. What was that moment for you where you said, all right, my new passion, my new mission is going to be talking about self-injury and the prevention of such?
I really stumbled upon it about 20 years ago that I was a new little intern, and one of the first clients I got was a teenage girl that was self-harming. I had no idea what to do. They didn't cover that in graduate school.
Yeah, no doubt.
And there are those moments you go, excuse me, I think I want a refund because there's some things you left out.
Wow.
And from there, it just started, well, I have to get educated, started to look for resources. One became two, worked on an adult inpatient unit. I had adults that were self-harming.
Wow.
And I was the only one that started to talk about it locally in the DFW area, and it just sort of progressed. And at this point, I've counseled over 500 people with a history of self-harm.
Oh,
Oh,
my
wow.
gosh.
Usually you think of the self-harm or the cutting aspect as a teenage thing. But to hear her talk about adults doing the same thing.
Yeah, that kind of caught me off guard.
Yeah, I wasn't prepared to hear that. That was new.
Well, and the really big thing people don't think about, because it is a myth, it's a teenage deal, it starts in elementary school.
Wow.
I mean, I've had people
Oh,
that
that's
they
so sad.
started when they were 3, 4, 5 years old. And I've had people that were in their 50s and 60s that started to harm for the first time. So it doesn't discriminate.
You know, for me, I sit there and see these people because we traveled the world in our band, and there was almost no exception to somebody coming up to the merch table afterwards, and I could see the cutting on their arms or their thighs or their legs. And it's something that I don't think we should be ashamed of. I don't think it's something that you hide in the closet and say, you know, man, I hope I wear long sleeves and nobody finds out. I think from my history on this, the cutting piece is, man, when I was in high school, which has now been, I graduated in 2002, 17 years ago, I didn't know what cutting was. I mean, this seems like something that has come into our society really heavy over the last decade. And to hide it, if you're going through it, I feel like is the second problem. So do you have people that maybe come in and they're totally ashamed of it and won't even tell you they're doing it, and then you find out they're doing it? Or do you know people that have been in that situation but didn't tell anyone?
Yeah, absolutely. The shame factor is huge because you have even stores that do gimmicky things. I remember going into a certain store and found a magnet, and it had a bloody little razor on it. It said crazy bee on it. And it's like, well, great message there that if I injure, I must be crazy. I must be all this. I've had adults that came in and they were so ashamed that they didn't want to talk about it. It took several sessions before they would actually admit to it.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the scary part is a lot of people self-harm for years before it's ever discovered. And when you tie that into the suicide, that's a really risky place because some of the studies show you've got 1 year to intervene on self-injury before it could be a suicide attempt.
Oh, wow.
I've heard this said to me personally by someone who was self-harming, and I remember her. She was in Nevada. She was at our Las Vegas show, and I said, you know, I see that we call it scars, but I mean, you can refer to it. There's probably a PC way to say it, but I see the scars there. And tell me, let's just have a one-on-one moment. Tell me why you're cutting. And she said, because the emotional pain that I'm going through at home is far greater than the physical pain I cause myself. And then when I can cause myself physical pain, my mind goes to that rather than the emotional pain. Is that what a lot of people would say?
Absolutely. Of the 35-something reasons I've chronicled, that is the number one. The emotional pain is so difficult to deal with. The physical's easier to handle. That it's like this emotional purge through the physical act of it.
Since you're in it every day, have you seen some people that go from like shoulder to wrist?
I've seen some pretty intense cases of self-harm, and that also includes burning, because there's like 20 different forms of self-injury out there.
Can you go through some of them? Because the only one I'm familiar with is cutting, I guess.
Well, a lot of times when you're looking at the elementary school level, you're looking at picking, scratching. Maybe they're hitting themselves. Then maybe using objects to hit themselves. I've had people that have choked themselves, not in a sexual way, not in a want to die way, just as that asphyxiation. You start to look at some of the quote-unquote challenges on YouTube. Some of them, I sort of wonder if those don't become a self-injurious act and it's just more socially acceptable. The fire challenge is one of them. The salt and ice challenge. Burning is definitely one of the ways people do it. And then I get the question about Fight Club. Whenever I've done presentations, people would go, well, what about that? And so I gave in, finally saw the movie because it really was on my to-do list. and I saw the edited version on TV, and even then I was like, ew.
Wait a second. I think the first rule about it's you're not supposed to talk about it.
That's true. Yeah. So I'm going to have to break the rule.
Sorry.
Shout out Robert Paulson.
His name was Robert Paulson.
Anyway.
Go ahead. Sorry to derail.
But I do think that, especially with guys, self-injury doesn't get discussed and discovered because we play it off as, well, guys being guys. Well,
masculine.
Fight Club, actually, there's a lot that falls in the self-injury category.
Wow, that's huge. I was wondering, have you had cases where you've literally stopped someone from it?
Yes. I mean, multiple. I'm very blessed that the success rate I've enjoyed with clients is probably close to that 90 percentile on stopping the self-injury part. And on suicide interventions, I really don't like to think about how many lives I've intervened, how many that I was able to either get them into more intense help that they needed, or we were able to work through it and they didn't attempt.
Right. So maybe you're watching this morning and you just tuned in late, or you're just now hopping on the replay. We have Melvin Adams, coacher, motivational speaker, and former Harlem Globetrotter, but once a Harlem Globetrotter, always a Harlem Globetrotter. A class of 2000, 99, 98?
For the Globetrotters?
Yeah.
2004.
2004, class of 2004. So Melvin and Lori are both here as guests, and Lori is talking about political correctness, a book that she wrote called Cause of Death, Political Correctness, and a Caregiver's Guide to Self-Injury. So we're talking about two different things here, and at the same time they tie in. And so as we go through the podcast today, if you have any questions, or maybe you're dealing with you're a fan of Melvin's and you want to reach out to him, drop comments below and we'll answer those comments live on Facebook. And if you're watching and maybe you're dealing with some emotional items or even self-harm or maybe suicide attempt, Lori, how can they get in touch with you?
The quickest way is lorivann.com, LORIVANN.com. You can also shoot me an email, lori@lorivann.com. And if you want, you can call 214-270-6966. My passion is helping people, and if I can assist you, I will find someone that can.
What's that phone number again?
It is 214-270-6966.
All right, we dropped that in the comments below. So if you're dealing with possibly self-hurt or suicide attempt, reach out to Lori. Her phone number is down there below, and man, thank you for all you do. That's huge. That's really awesome. Melvin, as you go to this comical tour, so you're on tour. I guess you go from churches, but you also go to schools. Is that right?
I go to schools, go to corporate. I kind of go where the church doesn't.
Okay.
I want to reach, because like I said, there are more people not going.
Oh, wow.
So we got to go where they are and reach them. So the public schools, You could go in and instead of going to a church of 100 kids, you got 3,000 at an elementary.
Kablayow! That's 30 times the audience.
Even in corporate, I mean, it's amazing how many people are just hurting, man. They just comedy. You can laugh. The Globetrotters made people laugh for 2 hours, but they go back home to 22 hours of just hell.
Wow.
So what did we really do if we didn't really get with the root? Because we cut the weeds, but we never deal with the root. The weeds going to keep growing.
Back, that's right.
So we got to give the roots to be set free, not just to live in freedom.
What is the process of going and trying out for the Harlem Globetrotters? Because I see guys of all different shapes, sizes, backgrounds, and they make it. I want to know, do you have to be a great basketball player?
Obviously, yeah. I mean, for me, like I shot about 3,000 jump shots every day, ran 3 miles. But again, the deeper part of it, like Lori was talking about, I just wanted my mom to say she loved me. If I could just score more points, make more money, because there's reasons why we do what we do. The insecurity, so I was, but at the time didn't know that. So I worked really hard, went to college, ended up becoming a 2-time All-American.
Where'd you go to school?
Went to school in California.
Cool.
And the gas prices were so high in L.A., the Crips and the Bloods were riding together.
Hey!
So West Side.
Oh, my
So I
gosh.
go there and did really good. And then obviously being short, being in California, brought a lot of publicity.
Right.
So ended up going to New Zealand before Lord of the Rings.
Oh,
And
my
went to
God.
Poland and Argentina, and then on to the Globetrotters. And
Okay.
so it was just amazing because all my life I played basketball. I never did tricks. So when they put you in this circle and then you for 2 weeks you just play basketball. It's no tricks. You just play. And you could be a great athlete, but if you don't have a good personality, you probably won't last long with
Right.
Globetrotters.
Okay.
Because they're ambassadors of the sport. And so so they started doing the tricks, man, and when they would go out partying, I would stay and work. Again, my mom, the deeper part. So I ended up becoming Mr. Globetrotter.
You were Mr. Globetrotter?
Yeah.
What year?
I got that in. Well, when you asked the question first, I was going. I retired from Globetrotters in 2000.
Okay, 2000.
Started in 96 to 2000. So I was 97 and 98 and 99 was Mr. Globetrotter.
This is weird because I went to the American Airlines Center where the Mavs played at the time. I saw the Globetrotters in that probably 97,
That
I
would have
think.
been.
I was there.
Was that
I was the
wow.
dribbler.
AAC or was that a Reunion Arena?
It might have been Reunion Arena at that
probably
time.
Reunion.
Yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
reunion.
Were you there at that
I was
time?
there in '97. I was there.
Okay, this
I tried
is
to
tight.
call you, but you're like my dad. You didn't show up.
That's why you got to get the principal on that.
He's
Like
like,
my so I've actually seen you perform. That's kind of cool.
I was looking for Lori back then. Like, you didn't say hi. You didn't
Say hi. Oh my gosh.
holding his hand.
Oh my gosh. So the Globetrotters how many people are in the Globetrotters?
So
I
the
think?
Globetrotters started in 1926. The history of the Globetrotters is in the 1920s. They wouldn't let blacks play professional.
Right.
So Abe Saperstein, a Jewish guy in Chicago, formed a team called Harlem Globetrotters. And what they did, they just traveled. They weren't even from Harlem. They were from Chicago. But Harlem at that time was synonymous with black people, and he wanted people to know it was a black team. He called them Globetrotters when actually they never left Chicago.
Wow.
But the vision, they've been
Wow.
all over the world. Like, I've been everywhere. I've been to France. Bonjour, oui, oui, pee, ho, ho. So you got to go all over the world, make people smile and laugh by spinning the ball. It's amazing how your gift of what you guys do and what Lori does, how we can use our gifts
Right.
to change and inspire the world.
Love
Is that the famous?
Man.
Is the Globetrotters famous for spinning the ball on the finger? Is that the famous move?
Yeah, the spinning it, man, catch it on your neck, juggling.
Oh, my gosh.
You have to. But I studied like Curly Neal. He was the guy that I studied, and it was kind of cool to finally meet him. Like, I met him at 10 to meet him at 25.
Oh wow.
And so that was one of the coolest to be able to, some of the older guys. Of course, the oldest were 1926, but he was the one that put the Globetrotters on the map with Gilligan's Island and
Oh my
Right,
god.
right.
yeah. So
Wait, what's the Gilligan's Island tie?
they were on Gilligan's Island.
Island,
The Globetrotters were on Gilligan's Island.
Were they
on
really?
Oh yeah, they were
On an
back in the day.
episode?
They were on an episode. Yeah,
How'd they get there?
Man, I don't know. That was crazy. When
They
you're
didn't
young,
take them back with them?
They had a basketball court on the island.
They
Like,
probably found out Ginger was there. And like, we gotta get to that.
You know,
island.
they're coming for the
I'd
actors.
swim. I'd swim for Ginger. Man, okay, so I had a thought while you were talking.
But
and
blacks
just-
don't swim. That's why we went on Titanic. It was only like
Oh
movie
my
would have been
god.
3 minutes.
That's a gross misrepresentation. I know a lot of black people that do swim.
I'm one of them.
a lot of black friends. Anyway, so what? Okay, so I'm hearing a commonality that runs between you guys. So you're telling us about how your childhood was not great, right? And the direction you went in was I'm gonna try to earn the love from my mother, and I'm gonna go hard in basketball and do all these things. So what caused you to go do that versus what causes someone to have that same experience but go down the road of self-injury. What's the difference there? And I don't think either one of them has to be like hell, because you're fulfilling an empty. You're filling a void in you with something. So maybe it's 9 hours of practice till your feet are bruised on the bottom, right? Because I'm going to do it and there's nothing to stop me, or I'm going to cut between my toes. Yeah. You're compensating for something there.
Yeah, absolutely. But the difference is usually one person. Is a one-person phenomena. And just having one person invest in that child or that young adult, when you look at so many successful entrepreneurs, they'll take it back to it was one person that started to make the change, that believed in them. And and tying into a lot of what Melvin's been saying was as far as the core issues. I mean, that's what we really try to target, because you can look at all these behaviors up here, whether it's substance use or porn or injury or whatever. But if you never get into the core issues of what you believe you are as a person, your personal rights, all of that stuff, and knowing what your value is, then it sets you down a whole trail of problems.
Is there something in one of these books that you want to allude to on that? I mean, I know they're probably two similar subjects, but there's got to be something in here. I like this one, The Caregiver's Guide to Self-Injury. So is this more written towards the parent of someone who's injuring themselves?
It originally was, because I led the only self-injury support groups, I still do, in all of North Texas. And so I wrote that book based on questions I'd get from when I do presentations, from parents that I would counsel. But I also wrote it for beginning counselors or just lay people to go to the section they need in that moment to answer the question, and then they can move on. So you don't have to read the book cover to cover. When you're in crisis, you need to go to that chapter and get your answer quick.
Dude, this is amazing. This book covers understanding what is and isn't self-harm and where to look for it, 35 reasons why someone would self-injure and core issues associated, myth-busting, what you think you know about self-injury versus reality, the role of tattoos, piercings, and other body modifications. Wow, that's interesting. Signs of injury from clothing to behaviors and how to assess for them, and then how to avoid freaking out and other mistakes caregivers typically make. Because I can imagine, like, you find out someone's cutting and it's just, I'm furious, why are you doing that? And that just, makes it even worse, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The cover of the book was by design of, it's usually the dad freaks out, gets really angry. The mom is in histrionics, like, oh my gosh, my poor baby. And then you have some parents that worry more about their self-image than their kid of, oh my gracious, what if the PTA finds out about this, or people at church? So they keep the stigma going and the shame going there. And then you have the kid in the middle, or I've counseled couples on this too, and just such a shame. And they're like, great, now I really need to keep this even more under wraps and get even more creative with how I'm going to harm.
Go pick this book up. This is a great book. It could really help you out there. I know this is a subject that, with thousands of people watching live today, this is a subject that touches the audience for sure. So Self-Injury, a Caregiver's Guide by Lori Vann.
Something I keep thinking of is we call it a Kellerism, right? We have a really cool coaching program at Keller Williams, a company that we work with really. And one of them is no pressure, no diamonds, right? And so what I'm hearing, you had a lot of pressure and you turned out to be a diamond, right? And what I'm hearing you say is you talk with a lot of people who are going through it, but they can be diamonds too. Yeah. I think there's very few people in life that did anything worth anything. They didn't have a hard upbringing, right? There's not a lot of it's in basketball. There's not a lot of kids who live in. Whoa.
Well, sorry.
JC, turn your iPad down before you call into the radio station.
Sorry.
Please turn your radio down, sir.
But yeah, I agree with that, because carbon, diamonds just crush carbon. But a lot of times these people go through this and they come out on the other side and they have a real testimony and they have a platform to speak on, like you. So, Melvin's a great example of that. He took his upbringing and now he's a motivational speaker saying, I'm going to use laughter and comedy as part of the way to get some of these kids out of what they're going through.
There's not a lot of Highland Park kids coming out and be going into the NBA.
That's it.
You know what I mean? So those people are tapping into something and using that as a resource to grow their life. And I'm just interested by by the disconnect. But like you said, it can be just that one person that comes in and just says, you probably had a one person.
Yeah, I think it's like, losers always look at what they're going through. Champions always look at where they're going to. And it was something that
gosh, dude.
it
Drop
could
that,
be.
drop
It could
that
be. You
moment.
don't have to be like radio or counselor. I was in Whole Foods. My wife is a vegan. She could hula hoop through a Cheerio. And I'm going to Whole Foods, just going shopping, just everyday life. And I see this girl, and I say, "How you doing, Miss Amazing?" And she runs up to me. She goes, "Why did you say that?" I said, "Because you're amazing." She said, "But what did I do?" I said, "You didn't do anything. You were just born with that one alfalfa hair and that drunk neck." Because we judge ourselves on how much we make, what kind of car we drive, numbers, likes, followers, and so she follows me. And so I was leaving. I go up to the girl and I go. I just tell her my story, like a minute of my story. My dad, my mom, and then my principals, counselors who changed my life, and so she cried and smiled. And as I'm walking out, the manager runs out. He goes, "Who are you?" And I go, "I'm a black man." He goes, "No." He goes, "Who are you?" He said, "Because that girl just got a divorce, and I haven't seen her smile in 5 months. But every time you come into the store, you make everybody smile. So what do you do?" So I begin to tell them what I do, and that's what I'm saying. Like you don't have to be a professional athlete. You don't have to be a counselor. You don't have to be an awesome, good-looking like boy band in the studio. You can change lives. Whatever you're doing now, you could work at Starbucks. You could be at whatever. You could be selling homes. You can inspire and change people in whatever you do. So you matter. You don't have to be, we get caught up in all this, numbers and what I drive. Your identity, you are amazing just the way you are. You don't have to be no professional athlete or counselor. Just be great at what you're doing, because whatever you're doing, you are absolutely amazing.
And your platform, although it's different for everybody in this room and it's different for everybody listening, your platform is your pulpit.
Oh yeah.
And if your pulpit's not your purpose, then it's pointless. And you got to make this a daily mindset shift to say, man, I'm going out there and my pulpit happens to be selling homes on a day-to-day basis, but her pulpit happens to be counseling on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. Your pulpit happens to be a father to two wonderful, talented young men, a husband to your wife, and also, all her hula hooping that she does, but also all the stuff that you do on stage, man. I'm not on those stages, but that's your pulpit, and you're going to where the people are, and that's kind of beautiful. I love that analogy, and the fact that your pulpit that day was the grocery store. And how many people did she interact with throughout the day that didn't take moment to sow a seed of greatness into her. So I love that. Who was that one person for you maybe growing up, or two people that changed everything?
My high school principal, she was a lady that didn't just come to work for the check. She came to work every day on purpose with a purpose.
Oh my.
And again, it wasn't nothing deep. It was real simple. Our wives don't want more money. They just want us to spend more time. It's so simple that we can't even get it. It's that simple. It becomes so goofy because we're looking for all this big. It's simple. And so she just told me I was awesome, amazing. Went from making all F's. My high school coach, he drove me to one of the richest areas, took me out of my environment. And it's the little things. If you're a teacher, bring a kid gummy bears. Bring donuts to the teachers. If you know what I mean? If you're a salesman, have some passion. Yeah. Be excited about what you're selling, because if you're not excited, they're not going to get excited. That's what makes life what it is. This is not what Lori does, not what you guys do. This is their passion. Yeah. You could hear it when they talk. They love it. It's not for follow it. She really loves kids. She wants to see people live. So if you have an organization, you need to have her out, come speak. She can change lives, inspire people. You need to listen to the show, because you can be inspired and motivated. Because there's not a lot of shows like this that are really about building people up. It's all about, I want to be great. But these guys are great. They're awesome. One looks like Jimmy Neutron. One looks like Adam Sandler.
Oh.
And they're killing it. Their mom was a terrorist because they're the bomb.
Their mom was a terrorist and they're the bomb. So you have all these jokes. Like when you're in a room and you're speaking, I mean, the Harlem Globetrotters is a great thing to talk about. But when you're in a room and you're speaking about yourself and you're going off on this motivational tangent and you got these people inspired and then you make them crack up, do you look at the room and you create jokes based on the room, or do you come with an agenda and say, all right, here's what I'm going to make them laugh, and at this moment I'm going to say this? How do you do it? Tell us a little bit about your comical style. I have some
things that I've written, but typically I'll look out into the room. I think the Globetrotters is what gets me into all of these places.
Yeah.
I get to go all around the world through the Globetrotters, but then I leave setting people free.
Oh, man.
People that come in because they had a great memory of the Globetrotters. but they leave out going, I need to forgive my dad.
Whoa.
I need to forgive my uncle who touched me when I was 7. I need to forgive my mom. So my whole thing is, man, I want to make you laugh. That's my net. My
You're good
first
at that, bro.
20, 30 minutes, I'm going to have you laughing. We're going to be farting. It's going to be great. The last 20, 25 minutes, you're going to start thinking, and I want you to leave and go, I don't have to be like my dad was. I could be a better. I made some mistakes as a young girl, but now I can look in the mirror and realize I'm a diamond. And I tell girls, if girls need to talk to themselves. If you're white, you need to go, hey, my God, I'm so amazing. If you're Hispanic, muy bonita, caliente. If you're a black girl, hey, for real though, hey. If you're Asian, get ready for photo now. Whatever you do.
Get ready for photo now.
To build and you need to know you're valuable. And you're more than your hips and your thighs. You're more than your hips and your thighs.
So how do you do that? How do you leave them inspired? What's in that 20 minutes that's the nuggets that they leave with?
The 20 minutes is that, me and my son was playing Madden. And in professional sports, they gamble. Just throwing this out. They gamble on Madden.
What? Really?
And I've never lost in Madden. So I'm playing my son when he's 6, and I'm beating him. I'm like, who's your dad? He's like, you. So I'm running in his room, and I'm like, Seth, look what I found in your pocket. Loser. And so he's crying, boogers and snots everywhere. Never wanted to play from 6 to 8. Finds out he goes on Google, learns how to play the game. I come home. He goes, Dad, you want to play Madden? I go, you want some of this? He goes, I want all of that. So we're playing the game. First quarter, he's whooping me 35 to nothing. And he's like, who's your daddy? I'm like, you. So he's walking the room like, Dad, look what I found in your wallet. Capital One and loser. And so he's all in my face. His breath is funky. He needs an Altoid, a Tic Tac, and some bubble gum. He's just so condescending. I walk away, accidentally trip over the power cord. The TV cuts off. The game cuts off. But I plug the TV up, turn the TV on, and I press restart, and it was 0-0. And I say that to say that many of you have been maybe beat down emotionally, physically, but every day is a new day to press restart. Doesn't matter where you come from. What matters is where you're going. And so you may have screwed up yesterday, maybe still be angry, but every day is a new day to press restart. Today is a day as a father you can tell your wife how much you appreciate her. You can take her out on a date. Today, your mom, you could tell your husband how much you appreciate him. Because your daughter's watching you, and she's going to marry a man just like what you portray. And young kids, you need to know that you matter. You could be anything you want to be. Whatever your dream is, a doctor, lawyer, professional nose digger, whatever. You can make it become reality.
Wait, you get paid
and
for
you need
that?
to know. Yeah, that's how I roll. But you need to know you matter. And so everyone listen today, man, you matter, and you're loved, and the world is a better place because you're here, and the world is a better place because this show is on the air, changing lives all over the world.
We got some people watching this morning. Jonathan Wooten says, good morning, fellas.
Hey, John.
Yes, sir. Give him a shout out.
Hey.
We got Mr. Smokey Garrett watching this morning, so shout out to Smokey
Smoke.
Garrett. And Mr. Justin Davis just tuned in, so Justin Davis, shout out to you. We have a question here. If I want to have, if I want to have Melvin speak, how would I get in touch with him? So if somebody wants to have you speak, how would they get in touch with you?
Go to adamsentertainmentagency.com.
Okay.
It's adamsentertainmentagency.com. And I tell you, man, with schools that I speak at, we've spoken to, so many kids.
Right.
Kids are hurting. And I tell you, like, I'm a comedian, so obviously I'm going to make people laugh. But it's so great when you have the body. Like, for a team to be great, you got a point guard, you got a shooting guard, you got a guy that need to get rebounds. Lori comes in. That's what I'm talking about. Lori is amazing how she is. She's written books. She tells a story. She's real cool right now, but you need to have her in front. And even you need to have like these guys here, man. These guys are amazing. You need to have them at school or your corporation.
There it is.
Because that suicide is huge. And I really challenge the listeners, go to Lori's website, find out more about what she's doing, because I'm telling you, these kids they're dying because they're hurting, and they need somebody. Girls love to see women like Lori who looks perfect, but when you really get to know her, she had a past and she had some hurts, and who better to learn from somebody who's been through that?
Yeah, and survived it. Yeah.
That's the thing. I think a lot of kids believe that they're the only ones going through what they're going through.
Because all they see on the
highlight
old
reel.
Man sound like social media.
Back in my day,
But it really does
Yeah.
seem like, and I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but it feels like suicide and those things are going up.
Absolutely.
Because people, all they see online all day with their friends is just their highlight reel.
Highlight reel, that's
Wow,
it.
look what they
That's
did.
it.
Look
It's
who
all
they're
lies.
with. Look how good they, all the. I don't have any of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scrolling
all
forever.
lies,
I don't
too.
see any of that. Yeah, it's all
lies.
It's
Yeah.
not real. We
Yeah.
call it the highlight reel.
Yeah.
And so
It really is. I think suicide rates have definitely been impacted by social media. And the fact, one of the things that really just got me even more fired up within the last month and trying to get out to more schools, get out to more colleges, get out to more treatment centers is because now the second leading cause of death in 10 to 14-year-olds is suicide. It had been the third. It's now bumped up to second. Man. So literally for ages 10 to 35.
A 10-year-old.
Second leading cause of death in America is suicide.
Do you know what number 3 is?
All of those.
What did it pass?
I don't remember offhand.
Wow,
on
that's
that,
crazy.
But
I'd be interested to Google and find out what those. It's just
I
sickening.
just can't imagine a 10-year-old committing suicide.
I was going to say, you know, I've got a niece who's going to turn 8, and you just think,
Wow.
at that age, they're supposed to be playing with dolls and not thinking about
riding bikes.
yeah, riding bikes, watching cartoons, not thinking about killing themselves. That
like
breaks your heart.
It was amazing when I was in 6th grade at Nola Dunn Elementary in Burleson, Texas, the town just next here where we are in Crowley. It was amazing that in 6th grade I lost my friend Marshall to suicide, and he left a note. And at 6th grade I was introduced to one of my good blacktop hopscotch playing buddies who left a note and said, "The pain in my life, I no longer want to disappoint my parents anymore. I'm clocking out." And when I was 6th grade, I mean, how old is 6th grade?
12,
I guess
it's like 12 years old.
12 years old. I'm sitting here seeing my friend Marshall. Who I'll never forget Marshall. And Terry Brandon was Marshall's best friend, and comforting Terry through that. And like, it's unexplainable. He did it with pills, an overdose at 12. And it makes you sick to think that, like Steven said, you're supposed to be learning how to refine your golf swing, figure out your hooping skills, run
figure
those
out
routes.
girls and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
figure
there
out
you
your
go.
body changing. And I'm sure that a lot of that has to play into my body's changing. I am 4 eyes, I'm freckles, I'm brace face, I'm 5 head, I'm all these things that people tell me.
I was a pizza face.
Yeah, pizza face and all these pieces. And the truth is, man, like you're just going through a little bitty chapter where your body's changing. Hold on, tie a knot at the end of that rope and hold on a few years, and then you become this man of excellence, this woman of excellence, and a world changer. It's amazing. Steve Jobs, he was one person, but look at the impact. Everyone listening has been impacted in some way or the other by Steve Jobs.
One guy.
Marshall could have been Steve Jobs. You know, it's not just Marshall's life; it's all the lives that he would have touched that were cut short through that.
Absolutely.
Well, what I'm thinking when I hear you say that is, you probably had no idea. He just one day he's dead, and one day he's gone.
Dude, we
You
were
have
playing
no
Pogs.
idea.
That was my homie that I played Pogs with.
Yeah.
We weren't thinking suicide.
He was, and you had no idea.
Yeah,
so
he
it
was.
just shows how important it is to treat everybody like there's something going on like that in their life, and you have no idea.
You know,
And kids give up.
Yeah.
This generation, they give up so quick, and that's what I'm saying. What you just said is every day you have a moment. I mean, it doesn't have to be so deep. Just say hello. I noticed, man, your shoes look good.
Say
Then that
thank
makes
you.
you feel like
Yeah.
you matter. Somebody sees me because these kids feel alone.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
the thing. When I come from education, I taught special needs kids for 12 years, but after every class we'd have passing period where they'd go to the next class.
Oh yeah, passing period.
I'd be in the hall, me and all the other, or not all the other, but several of the other teachers would be in the hall, and we'd just shake hands with kids. You know, if I saw a kid kind of hands in his pockets, looking down, hey man, what's going on? You know,
Yeah.
just giving them that little bit of encouragement that hey, somebody's glad to see me here.
You never know when that's the only light of sunshine they've seen in months.
Absolutely.
Like that girl that you talked about at the grocery store going through that divorce. You know, you said hurt people, but it's so true. And it's hard for us to respond when someone hurts us to put ourselves in their boots, put ourselves in their shoes and like, why did they attack me? There's probably something going on this morning where their husband yelled at them and called them the word that you mentioned earlier, or people have just constantly picked on them and they just let it out on you. It had nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
You just happen to be the closest person in their world when it all let loose.
And it's hard not to get defensive and
It
buck
really
up to
is.
that.
And you know, it's like I hope that, you know, my life to be an example of even coming here and noticing. Put the spotlight on Lori. Put the spotlight on you guys. And when you look for others, you think about others more than yourself, then everything you've ever wanted will come back on you with the motive, not to try to get something.
Yeah,
It's about if I can honor you,
Yeah.
then, you know, I humble myself to the others be lifted up.
That's a great
You
word
know,
right there.
stop thinking about getting out of our own self. Like, I'm shy. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say nothing deep, man. Just
A smile's
a
contagious.
smile, a high five, a dap, or man, you did great on your test, or
Shoot.
man, your shoes look good. You'd be amazed how those one girl at an elementary school, 3rd grade, one gave me a note. They walked back to the class. I called the Door of the Explorer because swiping, no swiping. And I was wondering where Diego was. But anyway, so she walks third grade. She hugs me like this hug. I'm like, wow. She walks to the class, and then she gives me a note. I get in the car, I'm driving, and the note, it was her suicide note for that night.
No way.
And all I did was I spent the ball on her finger. I would get the ball and I'd spin it. Right before I get to the finger, I go, you want to know why I picked you? And she goes, why? I go, because I love you. And of course, they're elementary kids. They're laughing. And I spin it again. And right before I get to her finger, I go, why did I pick you? And she goes, because you love me. And I spin it. And right before I get to her, I go, you love me? And of course, everybody laughs. So I shine her finger. Act like I bite it. I'm like, have you been eating peanut butter? And I spent the ball on her finger. That's all I did.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? You're amazing. You're Dora the Explorer.
Oh.
And that gave
Changed
the
her
suicide note. And again, it wasn't deep. It was just using whatever it is you have to inspire and make the world a better place.
That's right.
Yeah.
Buy somebody some gas today. Get somebody some coffee or something. Tell
That's
your
a good
wife she's
thing.
made, yeah.
It's investing in
Investing,
humans.
yeah.
We
There it
forget
is.
to invest in one another, and I think you're such an awesome example, Melvin, of servant leadership.
Shoot.
It's about serving one another, and when we get so focused on ourselves, all of the eye devices, all of our social media, we become so disconnected. The irony is we're more connected in some ways than ever before, but we're also more disconnected than ever before.
Here's a piece
Yeah,
that my
that's
pastor
true.
said recently. Shout out to Tommy Brandon, Calvary Church, if
What
you're
up,
watching
Tommy?
this morning. He said that, in one of his sermons recently, he said, invest in people because relationships are the only thing we can take with us to heaven. And what's so interesting about that is, you hear store up your treasure in heaven, all these things, but truthfully, the only thing going with us, we come into this world with nothing, we're leaving with nothing.
That's it.
It's a relationship is all we can take with us, and we're investing in those people here. You never know the people in the audience that day of those third graders. You know of one that you saved her life, but you don't know the ripple effect on the people that were in that crowd. Yeah. And the other thing that I go back to is a story whenever I was in Canada and a girl was standing outside our bus. And the easy reaction is, man, this is my home. Get away from backstage. What are y'all doing at our bus? And I went out there and I talked to her and I introduced myself. I said, hey, I'm Jonathan. She said, I know you, and I just got to tell you something. She said, this happened last week. Your song Breakdown. I said, yeah, our song Breakdown. Got it. She said, I had my iPod on, and I swallowed over 60 pills.
Golly.
And I was killing myself to your music. Your music had this upbeat tempo. I spit out all my pills and started dancing. She said, Jonathan, I came here today. I spent the money on a ticket that I didn't have to come to your concert and hopefully to meet you, to tell you, you literally saved my life. Your song Breakdown caused me to dance instead of die. And she spit out her pills, and it literally saved this girl's life. And like you said, it was a natural reaction. I had to get out of my own selfish way and be like, man, what are you doing back here in the buses? But I came off there, and luckily that day I was in a good mood, because there would have been days where I might have been down and said, hey, could you security, But luckily I was in a good mood, and I said, I want to meet this girl. And she had a story to where, literally don't know what her past was, don't know what led her to that moment. But all I know is her and I connected over music in that moment. She told me, and there was story after story after story of this as music changes lives. But it's just amazing, you've got to renew your mind every day, because if I hadn't renewed my mind to have a positive outlook on life that day, I might have missed that moment. And I might have shunned her back into the suicidal thought she was having and say, oh, well, I thought he was going to be a nice guy, and here he did. He shunned me, and I'm just going to go back because I am the worthless, or whatever the word that she had been describing herself in her mind, person. But we cannot miss those moments. We say it all the time on our team, but the moment to lift someone up is this big.
Yeah, the window of opportunity is closing.
It's closing. The window of opportunity at the grocery store is that big. And you just got to take that initiative to say, every day when I feel an impression in my heart to be nice and lift someone up, I've got to take action on that immediately.
Yeah.
And that's the other piece too. As you're going across, I can just imagine. You said you've spoken to 2 million youth now since you've left the Globetrotters.
8 million.
8 million.
8 million.
So what I read was old.
Yeah.
8 million. And is there a moment where you remember, you just had the crowd in the palm of your hand and you were just going?
It is overnight.
It's funny, man, because I was a kid in high school. I was shy. If you'd
Are
have
you
told me in high school, I mean, now I got diarrhea of the mouth. It's crazy. It's amazing what
You need a tissue?
I know. It's amazing what you got to do when you give everything, not half, not give it all your
You're
insecurities.
passionate up there, man.
your
I see you
fears,
kicking a ball and
So
We need to.
so it's just I never would have imagined, but I tell you, when I stopped getting excited, but even in all that, I can tell you, I do that 8 days a month. I'm home 23. Because
You
one
speak
thing
8
about
days a month?
8 days a month. Because if men can't, we work, if they cheat, but I'll keep them busy. And we always think busy is good. And if I can change kids across the world and can't reach my own, then everything I'm saying on this thing is a joke. If my wife got me sleeping on the couch, then everything that I'm saying on this show is crap.
That's
So,
true. Wow.
so you can't let your ministry become your mistress. And like she was saying, you can't get caught up with your second wife, the black chick. You gotta, and again, I'm not saying that I'm
iPhone.
perfect. Yeah, I'm not saying that I'm perfect.
Mine's
but,
red.
But I try to date my wife at least twice a week.
That's huge.
I'm driving back because I'm taking my youngest son to go see his first middle school football game. Me and the wife were going. So this what people just assume, globetrotter, I travel all the time. But I tell people I do this 8 days a month. And cause that's what I'm saying. It's always a kid. It's all people are all. My phone is always blowing up for people to come speak. But at what cost? Because if you're saying yes to something, you're saying no to something else. I have to keep my life. And again, I was insecure. My wife helped break me down on that. I was looking for the love. My mom told me she loved me 15 years ago. Great relationship with my mom. I was a mama's boy. But like I said, I could be gone all the time.
Wow.
And I got caught up into that. And because it was a good feeling, like I felt like a professional
I got
athlete
invited again.
Yeah, because my wife didn't want my autograph anymore. She had me buying panty liners and all that stuff. She washing dishes, folding clothes, breath smell like pine sol, hand smelling. I'm keeping it real today. But anyway, so I was So men want to be celebrated and not tolerated. So even if they hold and so I'm telling you, I'm sitting here and I'm listening to you talk, and I'm going, man, like if my boys grow up to be like half the guys y'all are, man, I'd be a proud father. Like these guys, like I'm telling you, not just on this thing, these guys are like awesome off this. I've seen them in the room.
Get to
like
hang
they're
out.
awesome, man. So y'all are like good husbands, good men. You're a good mom and wife and mother, and her beautiful smile. Her breath smells like Colgate. It's awesome. You'd have her.
Thank
at
you
your
for
place.
that, by the way, Lori. We appreciate you brushing your teeth this morning. It
Yes,
means a lot to
sweet.
us.
I didn't do it. Sorry.
Oh,
Sponsored by Listerine.
You got sweaters on your bowlers?
Oh yeah, they're hairy today.
it's funny because we said ahead of time, we said if you got anything to promote, we'd love to give you that opportunity. So now I want to give you an opportunity. You got anything coming up you want to promote? Any speaking engagements or you know where you're going, or you just show up?
Well, I'm going October the 21st. I'm going up to the Valley.
That's my birthday. Shout out to me.
Really? There you go.
35.
Sweet. Still looking 18.
turkey.
All right.
All right.
Similac and Huggy Supreme, baby.
All right. Oh my God.
I'm going to Harlingen. Fly. Okay, not that brother.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Easy.
Forgiveness. Repent. But no, I'll be in the Valley October 21st, 22nd. Then I'm going to Chicago on Thursday to do a middle school in Whiting.
You're not from Chicago, bro.
You're not from Chicago,
Sorry,
bruh.
that was
That was my
perfect
cousin.
timing.
So yeah, so just
I bet you're huge in
I-
Chicago. I bet you're really well
talking?
into.
I keep looking. I'm like, who's talking?
Who was here?
I bet you go back to Chicago. It's just wheels off. It's just crazy. I bet that's going to be an awesome engagement.
Man, anywhere I go, like but not just on stage. I'm like that to the stewardess on the airplane,
Really,
to the hotel.
it's a lifestyle at that point.
Yeah, it's not. So my stage is everything that's been done before I even got on stage, and that's why I bring people with me to train them. Like, because they'll see my gift and go, man, you're funny and everybody, but they don't see that I made my bed when I left to go to the, my wife taught me that. I made the bed. So when they come into that room and the credit card is on the people that brought me there, they go, wow, whoever stayed in this room, they bring in good people.
Dude,
So
that's amazing.
It's so much deeper than just being on stage. It's character. I see so many people that have great gifts that never take off because of character flaws.
Wow.
Because we focus more on the gift
The money.
and not the character.
Yep.
And so the gift will open up doors. The character is what will keep you. And so
That's huge right there. This morning I was, you talk about this, but my prayer every morning with my kids, and this was funny because this morning Shepard, I have two boys. I have a 4-year-old Gates. He turned 4 last week, and Shepard's 1. Shepard got out of bed with us this morning, and he came and he said, hand, and that means give me your hand. He said, man, and that means come on. And so I got out of bed, took his hand. He said, come on. And then he said, pray. We've now done this so consistently that he likes to circle up, hold hands, me, Gates, Sierra, and myself, and we pray every morning. And now he's addicted to the prayer. And we tell him to close his eyes. He can't quite close his eyes, so he does this right here. He knows he's supposed to close them, but he can't figure out how. And so he's sitting there going like this, and we're praying. And my prayer over them is, God, lead us to our people. Every day, that's our prayer. And it's amazing whenever your mindset is, God, lead us to our people, how he'll put those people in your life, like the girl at the grocery store, like the people that you've come in contact with, that literally are there. And you've got this little window of opportunity where it's this big. You got to take action on that. I think that's what we're talking about the whole time, is take action on sowing a seed of love into somebody today.
You know, you said something so funny. I was at a school, elementary school, and this kid, he comes up and he goes, why are you like black on the top and like white? I mean, you talking about, you said, have I ever like, and I wasn't expecting that. So like, it was like, so I was like, man, when God made people, he put them in the microwave. He put whites in, took them out too early. Put the Hispanics in, took them out at the right time. So he put blacks and he fell asleep. I was like, oh! And they busted up laughing and they were like, that's how blacks were made, in the microwave.
Oh, microwave. I love
that.
Well, man, I got to fill both of y'all's buckets. We told you that you'll get an opportunity to promote yourself. So anything you got coming up?
I have on October 18th for any mental health practitioners or anyone that wants to better understand self-injury. I have an intensive that's October 18th in Carrollton. And if you are a treatment center or a school district and you want me to come out and train your staff and start being savers of lives and limbs as well, then contact me at lorivann.com and let's be catalysts for change, not destruction.
Man, I love that. Her whole message is incredible. I gotta just take a minute and fill y'all's bucket. We told you the hour will go by quick, and as we round it out here this morning,
now I'm a little motivated.
I feel so motivated this morning. You came and motivated me in a way. You came and motivated the listeners in a way. Y'all did it in a different way, but it was so inspiring today. Your Globetrotters past is amazing to figure out that I was actually in the audience as a kid and you were one of the people on the court. Here's what I have to say. People of excellence that are on this podcast continually blow my mind. I just love that this platform, when we built this room, we had no idea the mighty men and women that we would have in this room. You're a blessing, man. Thank you so much for living a life of positivity.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for making a difference. Thank you so much for realizing the family unit is where every bit of change in this world happens. And you're a family man first and foremost. I love that you came in. You talked about your wife. You talked about your kids. Dude, thank you so much. You're welcome back anytime. We'd love to have you back here on the Local Legend Show.
Absolutely.
Lori, it's beautiful what you're doing up there. You're just an hour away from us, and you are making a worldwide impact. And I love that you say, I don't even like to count the people or think about the people whose lives you've saved, but it's well into the hundreds, and the spiderweb impact is well into the tens of thousands. Thank you so much for being an amazing student of something so hard to study. For you, it comes naturally and you're passionate about it, but I know there's days where it feels like tough, deep, emotionally draining. I want to fill your emotional bucket today and say thank you so much for being beautiful.
Absolutely. Thank both
Thanks,
of you.
guys, for real. Yeah, today was awesome. And
Heather
we told you that it
Schoonover-
would go by fast.
Yeah. Heather Schoonover Carlisle says Devil's main tools are defense and allowing to yourself to be offended. It will put you in a box with the enemy. We say it all the time, but if you're living in offense, it's like you drinking acid and hope the other person pains from it. The only person that's going to be pained by the bitterness that you are holding on to is yourself. So get past it. Live a life of forgiveness and positivity. We're here every week, Tuesday to 10:30, 9:30 to 10:30. Every Tuesday. We'll be back next week with an amazing guest. We can't wait to hear from you guys again. Melvin, Lori, on behalf of you guys' audience, thank you so much for spending an hour with the Local Legend Show. You guys are greatness.
Thanks, guys.
Till next Tuesday, we'll see you
Love you
guys
guys.
right here on the Local Legend Show.
Peace.